Moving on to my next skeleton model. I've been doing a kind of a skeleton theme these last few builds, and I'm going to continue with that. So this is the Glencoe Stegosaurus skeleton. This issue is from 1991. I believe it originally came out in 1956, maybe under the Palmer name brand. I'm not sure of that, but so anyway, this is the next one here, and it's got some of the shrink wrap still on it. So I'm going to do a little unboxing and we'll just see what this adventure holds for us. All right, let's go ahead and unbox this. I'm going to take, it's actually shrink wrap, the shrink wrap is partially come off anyway. I'm just going to remove the rest of it here, and let's see what we've got. I have looked at this before. Let's start with, we've got our instructions here. So we've got some information about Stegosaurus. This is in 1/25th scale, which is not a common scale. The prehistoric scenes are in 1/13th scale, which is also an uncommon scale. I want to say that the Bandai and the Tamiya kits tend to be in like 1/32nd or 1/35th scale. So here we go. Here's all of our assembly. So, yeah. So let's look at, we've got this base, and it's got this bar that, I don't know what this bar is supposed to be for. I started to remove it, and the plastic's pretty hard, so I stopped. So I'll probably have to sand this down a little bit to deal with whatever I messed up. The nameplate, which I love nameplates, and I love bases. Not sure how I feel about the two of them being together, though. This is going to present some challenges when I go to paint this. And I'm not sure how I'm going to go about that. I'm thinking I'm going to do the nameplate first. Well, yeah, I think I'm going to do the nameplate first and then come back and do the rest of the, mask this off and do the rest of the base. I think. Then again, I might do it just the opposite. We'll see. All right, so all of our parts seem to still be bagged up, and I'll go ahead and open this up. A lot of them are loose. That's often not a good sign, because when you've got loose parts, sometimes, and I've had this happen, where it's, in fact, on a Stegosaurus, where the plates like this were all, had all come off the sprues, and so you couldn't look at the part numbers until what went where. Although, as I'm looking at this, I don't think they put part numbers on this sprue, so that may be a non-issue anyway. I'm not sure that I'm going to go through piece by piece on here, because all of these parts are broken off the sprues. Of course, you've got a lot of these plates here that I'm going to have to figure out where they go, because there's no part numbers even on the sprues. I can't see any part numbers. Let me look at the instructions here. The instructions show part numbers, but again, and maybe I need to look a little deeper, but at first glance, I'm not seeing any part numbers on the sprues. So this is going to be a challenge for assembly. On previous skeletons, I've painted them and then assembled, but I think I'm going to assemble and then paint. That's always a challenge to figure out which one you're going to do. So I'm going to move on to cleaning this and then assembly and then painting, and we'll see where it all goes. Because a release agent is used in the injection molding process, you want to clean your parts to get that off. Otherwise, it could mess up your paint job. So always clean the parts first. Every kit has its challenges, and this one was not an exception. The biggest challenge on this one was the part numbering. So instead of having the numbers on the sprues, oftentimes the numbers were on these little tiny circles that connected to the parts. And some of them had lost the little circle pieces with the numbers on them. So it was sort of like figuring out a jigsaw puzzle from time to time. But most of it was pretty straightforward. And I did a little bit of putting on this, on particularly the knee joints. But some of the joints are just really difficult to get to. So I'm just not going to worry too much about that. Maybe it's a little lazy of me, but there's so much that would be very difficult to putty. So I'm just going to go with it as it is. To get the right fossil look, I first started out on the skeleton and the base with Vallejo model color cream white, and then did washes with the Vallejo model color dark rust. And I thought about doing more colors, but it was just right the way it was, so I didn't go any further. And that's kind of part of the trick, is knowing when to stop. To do the nameplate on the base, I first started off with Vallejo model color brass and did a few coats of that on the nameplate. And well, at first I masked it off, then I did the brass, then masked off a little bit more and did the several coats with Tamiya TS13 clear spray paint, about 6 or 7 coats, and then went over that with even more masking done with Tamiya semi-gloss black X18. Then with some Q-tips and some rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, I slowly went over the letters until I got those revealed, which has been my go-to for doing nameplates. This Glencoe Stegosaurus skeleton is done. Mostly pleased with it. The way it stands on the base is a little wonky, but otherwise, whoop, as you can tell, I'll just do it this way. Here's our skeleton here. So as you can see, it's not exactly sure-footed on the base. I'll show the base real quick here. So it did come with a built-in nameplate, which I do like nameplates and I do like bases, but it had this kind of odd little bar with rounded ends to it that I don't know what that's about. It's goofy. but it's done. So I would have preferred that the nameplate be a separate piece that you add in later. They don't consult me on these things. Anyway, here it is. The Glencoe Stegosaurus skeleton. Pretty straightforward build. Not too many problems with it. Paint job. I thought about doing more colors, but after I did a base coat with a cream and then a dark rust wash, and it just is like, I don't need to go any further. And sometimes it's a matter of knowing when to stop. So this was the stopping point. Pretty pleased with it. Anyway, the Glencoe Stegosaurus skeleton. Not sure what I'm going to be doing next, although I'm pretty sure it'll be skeleton themed. I've got about 5 or 6 kits. So we'll see what happens, but it'll probably be skeleton themed. Thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you on the next adventure.